Welcome back to the Exhibitor Now podcast. I was in Phoenix this week, as you heard on the front end of the show. And while I was there, I had an opportunity to go and visit clients. And one of my clients sticks out head and shoulders above everybody else not because they're so special or not because they're just better than anybody else, but when you get down a creative road, as we all know in this industry, you grab attention. And that's what this particular gentleman, who is my guest at this time, that's what he exudes when I talk with him, when I see him and observe what he's doing. You may remember seeing him back at Exhibitor Live in Louisville. They were the booth they were giving away skateboards, longboards, not skateboards, longboards. There's a big difference between the two, and I'm sure our guest will elaborate on that as well. We want to make sure we cover that correctly. And I can't think of a better introduction for my guest at this time than to read a social media statement about Guy Zwick. This is what it says on LinkedIn. Quote, "I am a classic American entrepreneur who put his belief in himself and the American dream to the test. In October of 2005, I took the bulk of my net worth and life savings to start Highway 85 Creative. My dream then was to attract a team of the most talented craftsmen, designers, artists, and field specialists in our industry. And once accomplished, we would use these talents with unparalleled passion to create unique and inspiring environments. Mission accomplished. Work hard, be kind, drink coffee, and create cool shit." And I know somebody's going to be offended that I said that, but remember, I said, quote, and then that's what it said. And this guy does not pull any punches, and you hear him in the background laughing. I want to welcome Guy Zwick to the Exhibitor Now podcast. Sir, I know you just came off the road, and I'm on the road. I hope you're doing well and thriving these days in Phoenix.
Thank you, Mike. Doing fabulous, and it's a good time to be alive, and it's a good time to be in the event and exhibit industry.
It sure is. Now, you and I, as we mentioned off mic, you were on Don and Mike some time back in that run with Exhibit City News, and we had a discussion, and I remember it somewhat vividly, but then again, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Oh, yeah, I didn't have lunch yesterday. That's why I didn't remember. But you told me the story about how Highway 85's name came about. Would you mind relaying that story once again of how all of that came about?
Yeah, I'll try and give it in a shorter version. I probably gave a long version last time. So my wife and I spent a lot of time in Puerto Penasco, Mexico, back in the day. Her family have a home that they've had there for 30 years. So we'd make trips down there on the weekends quite often. She was a marketing professional who was my client first, who then became a Six Sigma black belt, and she's working in this industrial industry. I had met her because I sold her a trade show booth. Here I am in the trade show business. I forget how many years at that point. And we were coming back on a Monday. We broke down in a small little town of Ajo. We even traveled in the summer, so it's 100+ degree weather. We had panting dogs, and we spent a good 6.5 hours at a Napa repair shop trying to get fixed up enough to get our little old Xterra all the way home back to Phoenix. And while we sat there, we were fielding calls from work and talking about our lives, our work, and basically dreamt up, not on a napkin, but it felt like it, maybe in the sand, if you will, if we were to create a company and a culture and do something in this field of, face-to-face marketing. She was in regular marketing. What would it look like? And the team, the culture, all that. So anyways, let's fast forward a little bit. We get back home. 3 months later, I say I'm going to do it, and I'm going to quit my job, and we're gonna go all in. And she says, "No, you're not. We're buying a new house together. You can't quit your job." Sat me down, and it was like, well, at least let's get this house first, and then maybe. So it was a catalyst, and then the name comes from the highway that we spend is Interstate 85. It's the main road that goes between Phoenix and Puerto Penasco, which is from a Phoenix standpoint, in 3.5 hours you can be at the beaches of Mexico. A little shorter than the San Diego trip, Mike, but so that was the catalyst for it. And so when you read that, yes, I put all my life savings in, cashed it all in, and started by myself in a little building in Scottsdale. That was the beginning of it.
So 18 years now, you've been rocking and rolling, and pre-pandemic, I'm going to go ahead and say that word. Everything's graduating up to that point. And then, of course, 2020 hits, and we all get a kick in the shins. We all take a setback. We all pivot. We all do whatever we need to do to stay alive between 2020 and 2021 coming back. Give me a little bit of a Reader's Digest on what that was like, the Highway 85 style.
Honestly, it was at first a difficult time, but it also was an opportunity. I saw an opportunity to seize some potential upsides, right? So I actually made a complete switch. And if you followed me in my social or anything during that time, I decided to lean into all the positive side of things and try to come out on the other side, literally with my planning. Yes, I had to shrink the company, but in that shrinking, it was always with this vision of how do we come out the better side, on the opposite side of this, however long it was going to be, better than we came into it, literally. So I even saw it as simple as, hey, we're having some trouble spending, you spend at that point, we're 18 plus years, but right, like you've been 16 years and you build slowly, you have all these processes stacked, but you get to a point where the old processes aren't, well, this was a chance to reset all the old processes. As simple as that, right? This was a chance to, in our case, acquire some other companies that weren't ready and strong enough financially to stick it out. So pulling in and helping them survive when we come back, we had a potential to grow. So it was very much a measured in scaled process during that time. And really, the only reason I even knew what to do, Mike, was I'd already been through 08, 9, and 10, where I was a deer in the headlights, a new business owner, didn't know what to do, reacted to everything slow, made bad decisions. Almost went bankrupt. So right after cashing it all in, in a few years I was in this mess. But those years were instrumental, knowing that, hey, the next time this happens, it's not when it or if, it will happen, right? You ride it while it's good, but be prepared for when it's gonna tank, whatever. You couldn't pick COVID, but a downturn, there's all kinds. So we had 9/11. I was a salesperson back in 9/11, if anyone remembers that. So I will thankfully say I came out with a even better team than pre-COVID. We doubled in size. We doubled in revenue. We added about 40% more capabilities and equipment than we had pre-COVID. So we have really taken off. So, in looking back, it was a good thing for us in the end. And outside of, one retired and one didn't come back, we actually brought the whole team back after COVID too. So, I don't know. Did I?
Yeah, that's
ramble
exactly
too much on that?
No, it's perfect. It's a little different than other stories I hear, but it makes sense for a personality of a guy like you,
right?
That would go and find the positivisms and the upsides to it. Speaking of which, the creativity that you guys pull is amazing to me. You know, the longboard situation. You got to tell me a little bit about that, where that came from, and how you're able to take that concept and just be so popular with it that you walk around Exhibitor Live and you see people holding boards and walking. I'm like, that's amazing to me.
Well, I think your audience might like this story. I'm glad you asked this one, because not everybody knows. They just refer to us, oh, those are the skateboard guys, you know, and not really knowing what the story is. But for any of the marketing professionals that are listening to this, they're going to totally probably like this story. But here's where it all starts. I had wanted to get into a bunch of the agencies, the PR, the digital agencies, the marketing agencies within my metro, Phoenix area. But you're a small business owner. You don't always have that time to prospect the way you want, because you're in the fight of getting the business all the time. But it was on this, hey, they're talking to the same people I'm talking to. I got to get attention of some of these agencies and have them, bringing us work and finding these collaborations. So what I had a team member who decided that they were a skateboarder and they wanted to create a skateboard of their own on the CNC machine. So they were sitting there cutting boards out in different shapes and testing goofy shapes and making boards. And I had an aha moment. I was like, I love this. Let's order a whole bunch of these. Make a whole bunch, order a whole bunch of wheels. Let's market the boards to the agency. So if the agency, let's say, was off Madison and their colors are red and black, let's put their logo on it. Let's put everything. Let's put a little note that says, come roll with Highway 85. We're going to deliver them a gift. Let's give them something as a gift that we've handmade. So I took out 25 boards the first trip, I think we gave a total of about 45 boards out, made unannounced visits to all the agencies, tried to ask for whoever had been the highest person at that point in the office, right? Owners, GMs, whatever, all kinds of different people. The most successful marketing thing I've ever done.
Wow.
I had about a 90% return rate.
Wow.
So I had CEOs calling me saying, you need to talk to these 8 project managers. I got videos of VPs riding the boards in the cubicle area. I got pictures of them sitting in their garage because their grandchild or child is using the boards, their boards, because they're, mind you, branded them. They got mounted up into the offices. We have some of these agencies that still have the boards in the lobbies as you come in. So it was a huge success. And all we ended up doing is presenting a gift and letting them know we made them by hand, and we wanted a second chance to be talking to them about a collaboration, right? So now let's just zip forward. I have this experience. Now I'm going to the first exhibitor show. And we decide, what are we going to do for a giveaway? Let's give these boards away. We just had all this success, right? So at the show, it was a conscious effort to say, let's design a booth. We show all these boards. We want people to literally not know what we do. Like, we wanted to confuse you. What do you do? What are you all about? We knew there was no guerrilla marketing allowed at Mandalay Bay or by the show, right? Now I'm giving my secrets to my competitors, right, on this one.
Yeah.
It's done and over with. So, but what you couldn't do, Mike, is you weren't violating if you were walking around the place holding a longboard. As long as you weren't soliciting anybody, you weren't doing anything wrong. So people that came by and asked about the boards, and we said as a giveaway, what we told them is, you got to walk around and find 5 of the Highway 85 team members. Ask us what we do. Grab a card. The first 25 people a day that come back with 5 cards of our team members got a board. And every day we flew in 5 new team members. So you got to meet designers, fabricators, warehouse people, project managers. You got to meet different team members. And what the response we got from everybody, honestly, was, that's brilliant. Because they walked away with, I literally met all these amazing people, and each person gravitated to one or who the people they met, and they knew things about Angelina. They knew things about Renee. They knew, and we made a stir, as you can imagine. You walk around with a longboard, and then you see a bunch of them. People are like, how do we get them? We had people, our competitors, walking their clients around who the client was still fixated on getting a longboard and breaking away from walking around to say, okay, Bob, tell me what you do. Okay, all right, grab a card and go on. So it was such a hit that we did it a previous year, and then we've just become the skateboard people, if you will.
That is amazing to me. And Mark brags all the time, Mark Johnson, about the longboard that he got from you guys. So that's amazing. I still haven't gotten mine, but we'll have that conversation later. It was probably a good thing because I'll fall and hurt myself.
Well, I can't put training wheels on it, but
truth hurts. The truth hurts sometimes. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the economy. And Phoenix specifically. You know, I was there this week and I saw a lot of expansion going on right around the Cardinal Stadium out going towards your directions. A lot of commercial building there, a lot around the airport. Is there an uptick in, and I talked to some people and the feedback I got was there's a bit of relocating of corporations there, mainly because of certain industries that are a little higher thought of than others. I'm not sure of the whole thing, but I'm sure you've got a grasp of that maybe you can enlighten me on.
Yeah, if I was going to enlighten you, I would say that this is going to be the next hub of distribution next to, you know, the Long Beach area, all that area that's where all the containers and things come out of California. It is moving here. So I don't know. They've run some stories on CNBC and others about it. On top of that, yeah, you still have that migration of some of specifically the companies in California, tech companies and things moving to Phoenix. So it's a little bit of a booming market on this side. But segueing into the economy a little bit, I will say that you know, from a trade show side, since you brought up COVID, it's pretty hard to go any lower than zero, right? So we were at literally ground zero as an industry. And I would say that, you know, I don't know if you saw some of those stats in Vegas, but it's booming, right? And I don't see that going away. I see that right now. You mentioned I was out of town. I was in Toronto with a bunch of entrepreneurs in a program, the strategic coach program. And the amount of people, I was in a new group and I brought up what I did, and the amount of people and the excitement about all the trade shows they're attending and basically the face-to-face events. Some of them are also, you know, not necessarily a traditional trade show, but, you know, an offsite, you know, sales events for some of the building industry and medical industries. But the enthusiasm for the face-to-face events are off the charts. And I don't know, we might have a short-lived memory here, but, you know, in our industry, we tend to battle a lot with, you know, the trade show industry is the mini bar pricing of marketing. It's a very expensive thing. I'm not sure if I get all the ROI. And right. I had a lot of clients and two of my biggest clients, I'd say in the top 5, right, said that they were going to reduce shows. They weren't going back to a couple of these major ones. As you can imagine, guess what they do now? They're bigger than they were in 18 or 19. They're doing more. And, you know, and some of the clients that shifted the money to, you know, to Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, other advertising, decided to put it into other areas. They've come back, I think, with a new appreciation for all the great things that a trade show or an event can bring you that aren't all tangible until it goes away, you know? And it goes away a little bit and your heart grows fond of it again. And you see that you actually like to even see your competitors instead of talking about them from afar. You're all there together. The amount of people that you can sell and the deals that you can do. And so I think it's a special time right now from a trade show standpoint, as long as it doesn't get screwed up.
It's a day-to-day thing, it seems. I know that we're in such a questionable economy right now. Of course, the inflationary aspects of what's going on and talks of recessions and the media blitzes that to the top of the hilt. But I tell you what, the show schedule has not backed down one iota. And everything I see in reports from social media and reports from shows and the media in our industry is saying that every show that's being pulled off so far in the fall has been very strong. And even though it's so expensive to go to the show, you hear the griping all the time, but they can't get over the fact that face-to-face is the solution. And that will be, that'll never change. I think virtual failures have shown that. And I'm not saying that hybrid is a bad thing, because technology, and that's where I was going to go next. Have you seen under your roof or with your clients?
Hey, Mike, can I interrupt him? And you just made me think of something.
Oh, okay, sure.
And, I don't think that a recession really, whether it backs up a little, just say, people got to be smarter about some things. I think the opportunity is so huge that the trade show industry, back to you're at ground zero and at this appreciation level for it, even a half step backwards is still bigger than 19, right? And there's all kinds of opportunities. I think one of the things that's kind of looming out there is that the industry itself doesn't screw itself up. Maybe a subject that not everybody wants to always bring up, but
you're right.
Some of the regulations happening, some of the cost of things, and I can be appreciative of coming out of COVID that there's some things, but I wanted to say that a reminder to the industry is that the shows don't happen and don't exist without the exhibitor. It's not the attendees. It's not the show owners. It's not the city municipalities or the convention and business bureaus. It's not. If the exhibitors don't show up, or you make it so difficult or so expensive for them, there is no industry and show. And I think sometimes that gets lost in the mix of this. And especially with some of the things that are changing and regs, and I don't want to get into all the specifics, but I definitely think that we are in a sweet spot. When I say don't screw it up, I'm really speaking to the industry itself. Keep it strong, keep it growing in a new direction, because it's a wonderful tool. It's an awesome tool that you got everybody's attention again. Don't fuck it up. It works and it's great. Sorry, I went on to a rant. Back to wherever you were. I told you I would just go on the rants. Sorry.
You actually you hit a little bit of that. I was only going to say technology and where it's going. Do you see that happening with your clients more and more, taking advantage of AI, AR, VR, LEDs? As a matter of fact, I did when I visited your place. I did see that implementation actually over the top a bit. So I'm assuming your answer would be positive in regards to where technology is going with your clients.
Yeah, Mike, so that was one of the moves a year out from COVID was, to buy technology. There was a lot of trade show vendors and AV vendors sitting on a lot of inventory, for example, that when it was booming, and there was a lot of deals to be had if you wanted to, risk, let's say, or time when things were going to come back. So yeah, we leaned heavy into bringing LED in-house, and more AV, holograms. We invested in all that avenue in our place. And then on the lighting side of things, we decided to bring in LED and an LED specialist in-house and build that department as well. Those were two departments that, we went outside for AV back in the day in 16, 17, 18 and all that. So yeah, because I saw that as a trend, and I have more, LEDs and kiosk. When I say a kiosk, I'm saying like an augmented piece that you're referring to, or some kind of technology, in all the way down to my 10 by 10s and 10 by 20s, which was typically an area where it's not in their budget points.
Sure.
Half of those have it in it now too. It's almost a standard to have a tower now with LEDs in it and a good sized screen, and the 80-inch TV isn't enough. And then how do we hook headers together? And yes, and then the tracking and the heat mapping and all that stuff too, which is something I'd like to see move that strategy to the again, I'm probably giving something away, but as an industry, we probably should do this to the smaller guys, figure out how they could utilize this, not just all the big players that we do that for. But yeah, it's a ton of it. And you saw that at Exhibitor, right? Sometimes you see those trends when you go to Exhibitor, what's hot or what's not. Pre-COVID, and let's just say 19, it wasn't filled. The whole place wasn't filled up with LEDs everywhere. Now every single booth builder's got LEDs all over the place, right? Speaking of LEDs specifically. Yeah, sorry. That's about all I got on that one.
No, that's good. All right, let's go to the final question, the wrap up of this awesome discussion that we've had today. Your crystal ball for 24. What does it look like for Highway 85 and for Guy in particular that we haven't already talked about?
It will be the greatest year of Highway 85's existence.
Okay.
In every level. We have assembled exactly what you read at the beginning. Like, I feel like I'm gonna close with the opening. I have officially assembled the most amazing team possible. And I know a lot of people say that, but I have just got to hand select over an 18 plus year time now. And I have employees that are from day one still here. Handpicked some of the most amazing artists, sculptors, designers, fabricators, seamsters and seamstress, AV techs. Like, it's just an amazing team. And we bulked up our capabilities. We're adding another space. And basically what we're ready to do is really take the next leapfrog. And it is a leapfrog in revenue, but it's also a leapfrog in what we're going to provide in services for our clients and the customer journey, which we have great feedback on, and it's awesome. But as you make these little leaps, right, from the size of companies and what you can do in that echelon, we're about to make one of those leaps, and I'm super excited about it. And I have zero concerns about a recession as it pertains to this industry. And I'm going to repeat that again. And the reason, and I say this, is you could take 25% away and it's still 75% more than it was a few years ago. So if you're doing the right things and you're winning and you're helping your clients win, the shows are going to be there. The value's there. You just got to help. You got to help these exhibitor companies, win at these shows. When I mean win, they got to hit all their success criteria, and some they're not even thinking of. So, yeah.
It's an amazing discussion with an amazing man with an amazing company. It's Guy Zwick from Highway 85 Creative in Phoenix, Arizona. I sure appreciate you taking time out of a busy schedule to talk with us today on the Exhibitor Now podcast. And I hope you have a great weekend and the great rest of 2023.
Thanks, Mike. This was awesome. I haven't done one of these podcasts in a while, and it was a pleasure.